How much RC can I pack into my regular Sunday? Started off my day by going to Starbucks because I'm addicted to caffeine, and then I got into some 3D scanning using my Revo Point. This is the Pop 3. This is the scanner that I've most liked normally. I'm trying a new scanning spray. It's a homemade version of talcum powder and alcohol. However, the instructions were very vague, and I ended up making it way too strong as far as the powder side. So I needed to dump about half that out and add more alcohol. But anyway, it got the job done. As you can see, I've got the cliffhanger cab only body brought into Fusion 360. And then from there, the purpose of this whole thing was to design up a 3D printable cage to add to the website to allow for downloading. And this is a project that I have had sitting around for way too long. Finally decided to get it done. I actually enjoy doing these, but it does, it's just one of those tasks that I needed to sit down and do. So I thought the cage design came out pretty well, but wanted to make sure that the design and the 3D scan was actually accurate to each other. So after I got the design done, I started the printer up and threw the cage into the Bamboo X1 Carbon. Using that new PEI sheet, the gold one, it actually works pretty well. Now it was time for a 124 scale comp. So had to head off, make sure that I got gas because I always leave it on empty somehow, and 158 ETA for the comp that was supposed to start at 1 o'clock, but we got there. And I haven't showed off the case that I've been using for the 124 scales. 3D printed up some inserts, and this thing's been super handy. I've got 2 trucks in there now, so that's why I kind of redesigned it, but still using that Radio Master MT12. I'm really liking this radio, so it's the one I've been staying with most lately. Using the ISDT charger, and I've got a bunch of these Hard Park 200 milliamp batteries that I charge off of a buddy pack. I also have a power bank inside that case that I use to charge up whatever, and that's it's just, and I'm going to integrate that a little bit more before too long. Now, we designed a super tough course for today's comp, and that really bit me because this was the very first gate of the competition, and real tight one, real, off camber around a corner, which is tough on its own right. But the part that really bit me was falling off, which happened right about now. Now, just falling off the table isn't that rare, but what happened, as you can possibly see as I come down and start to climb here, that rear axle is not where it's supposed to be. It is noticeably closer to the front tire on the driver's side there. Something that I noticed myself while driving about now. So that caused the truck to drive very odd, not only just because the wheelbase was shorter on one side than the other, but it was also binding up I think either my drive shaft or the shocks, just because of the angle. Maybe it was hitting the chassis, but the truck was driving very odd. So getting it through the course that was already going to be tough to finish became impossible for me. Maybe not on any normal day, but on today especially, I only got to gate 7 of 10, which was a bummer. The 124 scale comps are a good time, and I've bent a link on this truck before with the 2mm titanium links, but today just was not my day. We'll reevaluate, come back. Hitting that gate there was the last of my points for the comp, so unlucky for me. This, again, tough course. Gate 7 was not uncommon for people to point out on, even with trucks that were in well-running order. The with trucks that lost batteries and servos and everything in between. I also got this Furitek Katana RTR. This is the 18th scale. They just released this, and since I was already here, it felt like a good time to break this thing open and get it onto the course. The comp had already ended. This thing's a little bit too big for our 124 scale comps, being the 1/18 size, but the terrain is still pretty well suited for it. This runs the chassis that's very similar, I think, to the Evo Pro, Evo 18 Pro, or whatever it happens. Jeff had broke a link there as well on his truck, so course just kept eating people up. But aluminum chassis, the Furitek brushless system inside here, and the FlySky compatible or FlySky radio. I'm exactly 100% sure. The wheels on this thing are a little bit bigger. I think they're a 1.2 inch, and the tires felt pretty decent. I don't love the anger grill, but the warm headlights aren't bad. Of course, headlights and taillights on this, and the slow crawl, pretty decent. It's the ring and pinion style with portals, so not worm gear, but still allows it to get a nice creep going on. Threw that on the course, and we played around for a little bit. It does come with a nice size 2-cell LiPo. I think it's a 600 milliamp. Nice that it comes with a LiPo, a little bit larger, so you get a decent amount of runtime out of this. I drove this up and down the course, and being that it's a little bit larger, it does climb really well. The stock tires actually do, pretty decent in my opinion. The body is of course big, but scale looking. So depending on what you're after, that's just a personal preference thing. But those portals are definitely effective with the clearance there. I just kind of drove it around and saw exactly what I thought it would do. You can see driving through the comp gate here, this is where the extra width of the 18th scale stuff kind of bites you. I was able to squeeze past this near side gate, but you'll see the far side get clipped and fall down right there. Like I mentioned, 18th scale isn't something that I normally do a lot of. I pretty much stick to the 124 scale because I really only do it on the competition side. I don't really just go out and crawl these things. I only into this side of it for the competition. If you had a 1/18th scale class for competition, this could probably fit into that, and being brushless right out of the box and stock tires and all that does pretty well. Probably could use a smaller body if you wanted to actually be competitive, but
yeah.
now I drove this thing pretty hard and got in towards the end of the course here, and you're gonna see coming up here that I actually broke a front drive shaft. I don't feel like I was pushing it that hard when I break it, but at the same time, this does come as a brushless car out of the box, so it's gonna have more power than a stock truck, and without having all of the upgrades, those things can happen. So it's somewhat forgivable. If you pick one of these up, definitely buy some drive shafts. And that pretty much finished up my comp day. So driving home, while I was driving home, I checked my 3D print and noticed that it was basically going to be finished right when I was getting home. I did make a pit stop along the way and grabbed my 3D print and test fit it into the body, and luckily for me, everything fit perfectly. Now, onto another project. These are a bunch of 3D prints for a fixture for a tube chassis that I've been working on slowly. I haven't really showed you guys any of this stuff, but this is a titanium tube chassis that I've been working on over the last, I don't know, little while. If you talk about from the start of design, it's been since December. Actual fabrication's only been a couple of weeks. This is a different fixture here. This is where I actually use to get everything fitted up into place, and this is where I weld the first side. This is the passenger side here. You already saw the driver's side was completed, so I had already bent all of the parts, and I had to just now do all the coping and get everything fit into this jig for the passenger side before I could get it welded up. This is a tedious process, which, took me another hour or so to do all of the fitting before I could really get moving to the next step. But once all of the tubes are located into the fixture. I gave it a nice wipe down with some acetone. Being that this is titanium, it's a little bit different to weld, just trying to get rid of any of the impurities that I can, including wiping down the tungsten. Make sure I put on all of the proper safety gear for welding. Orange Crocs do meet that criteria. Also, I upgraded to one of these Viper chairs after my last chair tried to injure me. Really happy with this. It's super comfortable. Now I'm TIG welding all of this titanium together using a high pre and post flow. People doing aerospace would be cringing, but this is a RC car, so don't worry about it. Cutting everything out of the 3D printed fixtures. Yes, those 3D printed fixtures can melt. I don't really care. This is one-time use. And again, it's an RC car. So getting the titanium tacked up on both sides, and then we'll get it fit into the new fixture, where this is what will hold all of the cross bracing for doing the attaching of the two sides. But it's all for the night on the welding side. Turn off the welder, shut off the gas, and back inside. 10:35 and checking our 3D print of the dash and seats. 15 minutes remaining. Downloaded the footage from the day so I could start on the editing process while this thing was getting finished up. Got the cage removed from the body, new parts test fit into the cage, and then reinstalled back into the body, just to make sure that everything works like it says it should in the computer, because they don't always talk together just right. But with that done, back to editing, although I did need to get the cage files saved out, put into a folder so that I could upload them to my website so that I could make them for sale, since that was the point of this whole project. Once that was done, now we're back to editing, and it's 12:30 already, so call it the day in the life plus 45 minutes. But hope you guys had a good weekend. That's all for mine. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe. You know the deal. See you on the next one.